Hi, today I'd like to talk about raising and lowering the top on your Jaguar convertible. Now, technically it's an open two-seater, an OTS, and this is not the top, it's actually the hood. However, we're in California, so we're just going to call it a convertible and we'll call this the top. Now, it turns out that a nice top on an E-type is a substantial investment, and if you want to protect that investment, you need to know how to raise and lower it properly, and this will do two things for you. It will keep you from tearing holes in your top, and it'll keep you from punching holes in your seats. And unlike, for example, an Alpha of similar vintage, you could just throw the top down and just throw it back up. It's a little bit more complex with an E-type, and the top itself is also more complicated. Now, anytime you're either raising or lowering the top, the first thing you should do is flip the seats forward. This should always be the first thing that you do. Okay, and part of the lowering the top is you've got to disconnect these latches, the front of your top. There's 3 of them. It's also important that you don't forget to unlatch these flaps behind the seats here. Okay, once you unlatch the front of the top and your little flaps behind the seat, you can begin to lift the top back. And as you come back with the top, you want to make sure that you push out this part of the top here. This is really important. If you don't do this, the top's going to catch in the top mechanism, and you're going to eventually punch a hole in it, or more likely 2 holes, one on each side. Another important thing about lowering your top is the rear window. You want to make sure it has just one single fold in it, that it's smooth like this. Sometimes if it makes a little kink or whatever, you need to smooth it out like that. Okay, so moving along, we want to lower this middle latch down. Then we unhook these 2 straps. They go through the holes here in the header panel, and they snap into here like that. Now, a lot of tops are by now missing these straps, and you know, people probably don't really care too much about that, but since we have this nice restored top here, we might as well make use of it and do it correctly. Okay, to finish up, we'll install this tonneau cover. This is the original that came with the car, the short tonneau, and it's got 4 clips on the back, these press fit things on the side here, this kind of snap here, and some snaps on these straps as well. These go on the same stud as we used here to hold the top down. It's important that we fold up the edge of the top here as we do this installation. Okay. Try a different way here. I don't do this very often. What I like to do is to put the top up in the fall and to put it down in the spring. So I'm not one to be throwing it up and down a whole lot. I guess you can tell I don't get a whole lot of practice with this, but now the only thing that remains is to put our seat backs back in place. And we're ready to go for the next season. Okay, so let's talk about raising the top. It's not quite as critical as lowering. You're less likely to be doing damage to your top with incorrect procedures, but nevertheless, we'll go through it. Again, anytime you're going to either raise or lower the top, flip the seats forward. Pull the tonneau cover off. Next, we disconnect these hold-on straps. Pull them out of the holes and click them in place. And then we'll flip the top up. Now we can put the seats back. And next I like to do the two outboard latches. And then the center latch. One last detail is to hook up these little flaps behind the seats here. This is a detail I often forget, actually, and I'm sure I'm not the only one. Back. Now throw your tonneau in the trunk, and you're ready to go for the winter.